This video is sponsored by my Discord server. Click the link in the description below to join the Raptorverse today. Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to Who'd Win and Why. And this time we've got the evil counterparts to two of the greatest heroes going head-to-head, Goku Black and the ReverseFlash. Powerful, fast, and sadistic beyond belief, both are bound to cause trouble in the blink of an eye. But today it's time for me to decide which of these dark reflections would get shattered in a one-on-one battle to the death. So, who'd win and why? Let's find out! Alright, so first we're going to talk about Goku Black. In the world of Dragon Ball, there exists a race of divine beings known as the Supreme Kais, who were the immortal gods of creation for individual universes. One of these gods was Gowasu, who helped rule and oversee the entirety of Universe 10, but he also served as a master to a Supreme Kai in training known as Zamasu. Despite his relatively calm nature, Zamasu hated nothing more than intelligent mortal life, seeing them as savage and inferior beings that needed to be exterminated to bring about peace. Unfortunately for him though, most Kais like himself aren't supposed to interfere with mortal life unless they pose a major threat that they need to deal with, but eventually Zamasu just said screw it and took matters into his own hands. After killing Gowasu and leading a new, darker path, he caught word of an incredibly powerful Saiyan called Son Goku, and he was outraged to learn that a mere mortal had physically surpassed a Kai like himself. So what did he do? He gathered the 7 planet-sized Super Dragon Balls and wished to swap bodies with Goku, after which he killed him along with his entire family. This body swap caused Zamasu to fully give in to his dark emotions, openly displaying traits that are autonomous with Goku, like sadism and unhinged aggression. And with his new Saiyan power combined with the Kai power he retained, he was now becoming strong enough to take mortals out of the equation. And using a special relic known as the Time Ring, Zamasu traveled to an alternate timeline, which just so happened to be future Trunks' timeline, where he teamed up with the Zamasu from that timeline to perform the genocide together. In response, Trunks brought Goku and Vegeta from the past to fight alongside him, and from then on it was them versus Zamasu and Goku Black. Or just Black, either one works. After gaining more control over Goku's abilities, Black became a powerhouse of a foe in this timeline. While in his base form, he can fight on par with transformations as high as Super Saiyan 2, and that's not just some walk in the park. Remember, Goku became so powerful that he now has the destructive potential to destroy humongous universes during battle, even in just his base form. So considering that the Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 forms dramatically increase that power, not to mention allow for massively faster than light combat speed and attacks, Goku Black's own physical capabilities are just absurd. In the manga, Black could actually go up to Super Saiyan 2 as well, and even later he pushed his limits past the point of Super Saiyan God. However, this didn't give him the almighty Super Saiyan Blue form like normal Saiyans. Instead, his Kai Ki mixed with his Saiyan Ki transformed him into the pink-haired Super Saiyan Rose, which has let him consistently put Super Saiyan Blue, Goku, and Vegeta to the test when going hand-to-hand. Speaking of which, Black is an incredible martial artist, capable of getting the drop on longtime masters of combat, and sometimes even catching them off guard at blinding speeds. Not only that, his new Saiyan biology lets him mimic various fighting techniques that he sees performed by his opponents, meaning he'll just get more and more unpredictable the more battles he enters. And after slaughtering his former master and taking his Potara earrings, Black gained full access to the power and capabilities that a Supreme Kai could have, though he did later give one to the other Zamasu. Obviously, this all makes Black very strong and very skilled, but he's also got a wide range of extra powers and abilities up his sleeve. Goku Black's energy attacks are his go-to techniques for fighting long range, and like everyone else, he's got a lot of them. Just to name a few, he can fire continuous energy bullets, create a compact ball of ki known as the Black Power Ball, release the even deadlier human extinction attack, and even fire his own Kamehameha. but Black. Many of these attacks become amped up substantially after Black transforms into Super Saiyan Rose, which also adds more energy variants like the Divine Lasso, and he can even manifest some of his key attacks as melee strikes, like the God Split Cut and the Violent Fierce God Slicer for impaling his adversaries. After mimicking a Saiyan's ability to use their anger to increase their power, he can now create a blade of energy called the Sickle of Sorrow. This enhanced version of the God Slicer can cause rifts through space and time known as the Work of the Gods, releasing evil energy that can allow Black to make shadow clones of himself, which are vulnerable but very powerful. Speaking of space and time, Black in the anime held on to the aforementioned time ring, which not only let him travel through time but also stabilized his existence in the present should his past self ever be somehow compromised, which, surprise surprise, it was. Black can create shockwaves and energy shields, sense ki and others, use telekinesis, and of course fly and instantly teleport. All of these abilities have let him pull off some incredible feats, like shrugging off heavy hits from Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks, and killing all the gods of destruction by killing all the gods of creation. And while he was ultimately defeated by Trunks and his Sword of Hope, even after fusing with Zamasu, Black proved himself as one of the deadliest and most unpredictable players in Goku's Rogues Gallery, and that's really saying something. Goku Black's mix of incredible strength, speed, and techniques will make it difficult for any opponent to find a physical weakness in him. However, he can still become overconfident if he underestimates his enemy, and ironically, in a Goku-like way, likes to wait for his opponents to power up before increasing his own power. Nevertheless, this is another Goku who is not willing to give up on his pursuits, no matter how many times the heroes try to stop him. He is absolutely one of the greatest threats to all mortal life, and he has the power and the tenacity to bring on the supreme destruction. Alright, so now it's time to move over to the ReverseFlash. After being born as a result of protocol and genetic engineering nearly 500 years in the future, Eobard Thawne was a genius scientist who was fascinated by the Speed Force and 20th century speedsters. He planned to find a way to tap into the Speed Force while working at the Flash Museum, but he simply was not able to crack it, even when himself from the future kept removing obstacles from his life. Yeah, really. But then Eobard caught the luckiest break in the world and stumbled upon a time capsule containing the Flash costume itself. And by manipulating a tiny remnant of the Speed Force within it, he replicated the same accident that gave Barry Allen super speed all those years ago to achieve those powers for himself. With his new powers and new suit, Eobard took to the streets and became the Flash of the 25th century, and later used Barry's cosmic treadmill to travel to the past to meet Barry. However, he instead discovered that he was destined to become the Flash's greatest enemy, which literally drove him insane. After some masquerading as Barry, which eventually failed, Eobard developed an intense and unmatched hatred for him. He also lost his memories and his powers, later got them back, long story. But when he tried traveling back in time to prevent Barry from gaining his powers, it almost resulted in Eobard fading out of reality, as Barry becoming the Flash is essential to Eobard's own existence. Eobard figured that if he couldn't change the Flash's upbringing, or kill him, he would do the next best thing and go time hopping to completely ruin his life, including tormenting him as a child and killing his mother. From then on, he would do battle with the Scarlet Speedster, donning an inverted version of his iconic costume, indeed becoming his greatest enemy, the ReverseFlash. Oh, no, that's the Daniel West version. I'm talking about Professor Zoom. No, not that Zoom. That's the Hunter Okay, you know what? Never mind. Let's move on. While ReverseFlash initially drew power from the good old regular Speed Force like other Flashes, he eventually used his superb knowledge of it to manifest his own extra-dimensional field of kinetic energy. This became known as the Negative Speed Force, which somehow made him even more ridiculously overpowered. With it, he can move at speeds that far exceed that of light and easily keep pace with the fastest heroes around. He's even outpaced Barry in combat more times than Barry would like to admit. Eobard also has access to all of the Flash's abilities through properly manipulating his negative energy, allowing him to give the biggest middle finger ever to physics. He can manipulate each and every one of his molecules so precisely that he can phase his body through solid objects and physical attacks, maintaining intangibility, invisibility, or even body possession for extremely long time lengths. His knowledge of mathematical concepts lets him create tornadoes and vortexes, expel lightning from his body, and produce intense shockwaves by running or simply by snapping his fingers. And of course, the Flash has pulled off many tricks and techniques that ReverseFlash should be capable of as well, and we're not just talking about healing factors or enhanced durability and strength. Multiple Flashes have shown capable of siphoning kinetic energy from other people, vibrating their fists so it reaches the mass of a white dwarf star and beyond with the infinite mass punch, and mustering up enough energy to break apart other universes. Wally West has even managed to enter the fourth dimension with his power and affect beings that come from immensely higher levels of existence. Because when you have nearly unlimited control over your own extra-dimensional juice, what's gonna stop you? But there is so much more to Professor Zoom and the negative speed force than just what the Flash can do, especially when it comes to Thawne's disconnection to the timeline. After attempting to travel to a time that had been erased during Flashpoint, ReverseFlash now exists as a living paradox in our reality, which essentially means that he cannot be affected by any time-altering events. He will not cease to exist if he is killed from an earlier point in time, and this allows him to keep coming back regardless of where or when he's put down. The negative speed force of course allows Eobard to travel through time using his speed like other speedsters, with the added bonus of being able to erase beings from existence by pulling them out of the timeline from an earlier point in history, which doesn't even cause any negative effects on the present. His negative energy can act as a disease to speedsters by infusing them with that negative energy or cutting off their speed force connection, or he can just drag people into the negative speed force itself. And then he's got his weird as hell mental abilities, like how he can absorb an opponent's memories while simultaneously aging them at a rapid rate, and how he can literally use speed force frequencies to make people think or do things. So yes, basically hypnosis. Combined with his impressive scheming and hand-to-hand fighting ability, it's no wonder that ReverseFlash has posed a threat to so many major players of the DC universe. He's capable of fighting 5 speedsters all at once, keeping up with practically any Justice League member one-on-one, and even defeating the reality-erasing foe Paradox thanks to his knowledge of timeline alteration and temporal energy. But possibly most impressive of all, even with all of the Flash's villains who come in all shapes and sizes, ReverseFlash has remained his most persistent and arguably his most dangerous enemy to date, always coming back to torture him no matter how many times he's brought to justice. Despite Eobard's immense power and crazy abilities, his obsession with tormenting Barry and his friends has arguably pushed him even further into insanity, and that combined with his arrogance can sometimes get the better of him in a fight. Plus, there's no question that he's been caught off guard before by characters that are light years behind him in terms of speed, because you can't have a story without that coming up every now and then. But at his best, the ReverseFlash is as frightening as villains come and knows how to tear apart his enemies in the nastiest ways possible. He could be wherever or whenever he wants to in a flash, and he's got all the time in the world to make sure that he sees his mission through. Alright, so now that I've gone over both of these characters, it's finally time for me to say who I think would win this battle. And despite many of their abilities being so different, you can't deny that these are still two badass villains and the polar opposites of two amazing heroes. And with such power and versatility at their fingertips, it's tough to get a more upscale fight than this without looking at all the overpowered deities of their overpowered worlds. With that all being said though, at the end of the day, I do personally believe that the ReverseFlash would be the winner of this fight. And if you think that Goku Black would win, that's great, that's totally fine, let me know why down in the comments below, but first here's my reasoning for why I think ReverseFlash would win more often than not. Of course, we first have to discuss the speed difference between these two, because yes, ReverseFlash is faster, but is his speed enough to win the fight on its own? Well, let's look at the numbers. There's no concrete method to determine exactly how fast they are, but when looking at estimations of feats, the highest ones put Goku Black's speed in the low quintillion times light speed range, while ReverseFlash should easily clock in the low septillion times light speed range by scaling conservatively to lower end Flash feats, making him 1 million times faster than Black at bare minimum. Of course, ReverseFlash is definitely much faster by scaling him to the higher end feats, and his speed could very well just be incalculable, but let's pretend for a minute that we are working with this lower gap. And before you say that this wouldn't be such a big deal, don't think of it as ReverseFlash being 1 million times faster, think of it as Goku Black being 1 million times slower from Thawne's perspective. If ReverseFlash perceives himself as running at the speed of your average human, then he would perceive Goku Black traveling 0.000015 miles per hour. At that speed, it would take you about 2.5 minutes to travel 1 millimeter, and almost 2 days to travel 1 meter. That is literally 40 times slower than the slowest snail in the world, meaning that there's really no chance Goku Black could hit ReverseFlash with anything when he goes all out, even when factoring in instant transmission. And this is ignoring the more realistic, much greater speed difference and the kinetic energy stealing, which Black has no way to counter or make up for. But now we have to take a look at whether or not ReverseFlash could even get past Black's durability and keep up with his strength. And spoilers, yeah, he definitely can. Black's power and toughness solidly rest at the low multi-universal level thanks to his scaling to Goku. And to be fair, a standard infinite mass punch only hits with around 2.5 octillion tons of TNT, which really isn't enough to destroy universes. However, infinite mass punches don't have to cap at the White Dwarf star level. They can keep rising in power as long as the speedster vibrates their fist long enough and fast enough to keep gaining mass for basically as long as they want. And considering the aforementioned speed gap between these two, ReverseFlash has all the time he needs to surpass Goku Black. And this isn't just some unsupported hypothesis. Thawne and other Flashes have done some ridiculous things, like causing universal to entire multiversal destruction with their speed, fighting on par with Wonder Woman and Superman, and even doing damage to outer-versal forces such as the Anti-Monitor. A Flash's maximum power is simply much higher than multi-universal, and it's definitely something ReverseFlash has the potential and the time to achieve. Even if he didn't, the negative speed force provides him with so many workarounds that it's really just not fair. He can phase his hand through an opponent's body, scrambling their organs or causing them to explode. He can use super speed frequencies to hypnotically make anyone do practically anything he tells them to, because why not? He can absorb Black's memories to get the rundown on any of the abilities that could even remotely pose a threat to him. There's more, of course, but you get the point. Goku Black's many techniques and key abilities are extremely destructive, but none of them have any hope of countering any of that crazy shit. Sure, Black did have the time ring in the anime, which could serve as a hard counter for Thawne's time traveling and timeline alteration abilities, but Thawne's existence as a living paradox prevents him from being permanently killed, no matter where in the timeline it's done. So Black's not going to be pulling that trick either. And even if ReverseFlash's speed wasn't enough to just avoid all of Goku Black's attacks, there's nothing stopping him from constantly manipulating his molecules to phase or heal as much as he wants. Why? Because negative speed force, that's why. Overall, this is a very intriguing fight conceptually, but Eobard Thawne is one of those characters who is truly broken when you objectively look at how he's written. ReverseFlash's speed and durability hacks alone are really enough to ensure that he never gets hit with anything substantial, and Goku Black's fighting ability and energy reserves really have no way to make up for that. Goku Black is an incredibly dangerous foe, but I feel that the upper limits of Thawne's power, defenses, abilities, and speed would reverse the tables in a flash. So, in my opinion, the winner is the ReverseFlash. So guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like. If you want to see more who, when, and why, you can click the box on the right. Or if you want to suggest something for who, when, and why, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. But no matter what you guys do, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And next time on Who, When, and Why, we've got Cobra going up against Hydra. See you all then.